Hello and welcome to another SkaredCast battle report. Today, Battle Convocation comes to play against the Eldar, Dark Eldar and Harlequins across this massive centerpiece. Practicing for the Path of Glory tournament. Check the links down below for more information and for different battle reports and the blog. Let's begin. Okay, so the battle is joined. We have the Skitarii maniple, we've got some of these guys that are chickens, we got some arquebuses, we got the infiltrators, and we got some stalkers, and we got a couple of destroyer units, and a nasty warlord that rerolls his Feel No Pain, and a knight with upgrades, and some more nasty guys back here, and a doom crawler, and some more guys back here. So this is 1500 points battle convocation, and 1500 points. Check the link down below for the list, but I have deployed the Warp Spiders and my Wraith Knight. It is 5 objective Crusader, Hammer and Anvil deployments with kill points as well calculated, and I've decided to keep everything else in reserve. It is Night Fight turn 1, and my Warlord trait allowed me to infiltrate, but I didn't want to use it, and his Warlord trait is rerolling Feel No Pains. Okay, let's begin. Cult Mechanicus, turn 1. Battle Congregation. They've moved up and run and got themselves into a better position for the remainder of the game. No shooting, because I was smart and didn't deploy within line of sight or range, except for the knight, but he's fine. And they just kind of ran, kind of moved, stayed put. And now we're moving on to the boringest Eldar turn in Eldar history. Turn 1. The sneaky Warp Spiders and the Wraith Knight. Just shuffle a little bit, nothing crazy, but that is turn 1. Okay, moving on to the Adeptus Mechanicus turn 2. Will they be able to salvage the relics surrounding the cathedral without the Xenos disrupting their dig? We shall see. And the tension is palpable. The Battle Congregation has popped their Shroud Swarm, so they are now shrouded and stealthed, so they have lots of cover waiting for the reserves to arrive. Minimal shooting into the Wraith Knight, saw no damage to the Wraith Knight. Okay, so they did move around, they're in cover, ready to pop out, do some damage. Let's see what reserves we have to arrive. Okay, so first and foremost, we have this dice so you can see what I'm rolling. Okie dokie. Actually, let's make it 2 dice. It's going to be easier that way. So we have 2 Warwalkers. I'm going to keep them both off. We have a unit of Scatterbike jet bikes. I'm going to keep them off. We have a unit of regular jet bikes. I'm going to keep them off. We have the 2 Venoms. I'm going to have to bring one on, keeping the other one off. We have the unit of Deep Striking Trueborn that I'm going to keep off, and we have the Harlequins that have to arrive. The Wraith Knight moved up, tried to charge into these guys over here, but failed an 11-inch charge. He rolled an 8. My Harlequins used his webway portal to come in here, shrieked 2 models out of that unit, and 1 is left alive. And then I also killed 2 out of those. 1 is left alive, 1 wound, and he's falling back thanks to the Death Jester. I picked him to fall back this way. Okay, moving on to the next turn. So a lot of shooting went into the Harlequins, and the Harlequins have fallen. But they did soak up all the Skitarii shooting except for the Onager, and they soaked up all the destroyers and the knight as well, although the knight shot his missiles at that venom, forced it to jink, and it only took 1 hull point. The Canticle was twin linking the entire army this turn. Nothing happened over here, and these units of stalkers came in, and 1 wound left on the Exarch, and he is alive, and he hit and ran away from combat. Okay, so moving on to Eldar, Dark Eldar, turn 3. We have our reserves to come on from reserve. Okay, so 2 Warwalkers. They both arrive. We have the unit of jet bikes with scatter lasers arrive. The unit of jet bikes with no scatter lasers. I will keep them off the table. And then we have one more unit of Venoms, warriors. They arrive, and the Trueborn in the Raider. They arrive. So, we shot up all the Stalkers with the scatter bikes and some Venom shooting, and then the Exarch with his last 2 shots instant killed the last 2 of the Rust Stalkers in cover. This destroyer survived by being survived with all the Venom firepower.
Yep.
My 2 Warwalkers came on this flank and knocked down these infiltrators to 1 guy remaining, and then my Wraith Knight charged into the chickens, blew them all up, and explosions aside, 1 wound was put on that infiltrator. So now we're moving on to turn 4. This is getting heated towards the end of the game. It's just basic objectives. Let's see what happens. We have a Dawn of War 3 trailer brooding right here. That's right. Really, it's gonna be amazing. Okay, Dawn of War 3 trailer coming right up. The Knight's charging through cover, but Grav did concuss my Wraith Knight. And he's also got -1 weapon skill and whatnot, but he didn't blind the Knight, which is awesome.
No.
So I have 4 attacks, and this is all simultaneous, so we're gonna roll it.
Yep.
And the Knight has
rerolls 1 and 2s.
He can reroll 1 and 2s in combat to hit,
yep.
And he's also got 4 attacks as well.
Yep.
So he's hitting on 3s, and I'm hitting on 4s.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so hitting on 3s, the Knight.
So rerolling from the
Rerolls
canticle.
2s,
yep.
So he can reroll 1s and 2s to get 2 hits. The Wraith Knight needing 4s to hit. Hits with 2, and one of them is master crafted for a 3rd hit.
He's up on me.
He's a strength D, so let's see what happens.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, those 2 here. Oh, no 6s.
Yep.
And let's see what the Wraith Knight can do here.
Oh,
there's the 6.
Yep.
Okay, so each of these can still kill us.
Yep.
So I have to take 2 invulnerable saves
yep.
with my glaive for the D-weapon attacks. So 2 invul saves, and he passes 1, which means he will take D3 wounds, I believe is what
yes.
it is. Okay, so D3 wounds against the Wraith Knight. He takes 3 wounds. He's at 1 left.
Yep.
Okay, so so I got the D3
yep.
for the small one. That's 2.
Yep.
Plus a penetrating hit.
Yep.
Right, so just the 2,
yep.
and then the D6 plus
6.
Yeah, that's a dead Knight.
Yeah.
Okay, the Knight explodes. So cataclysmic explosion of, drum roll, please. A 5. It's the big one.
Yeah. Gargantuan.
Okay, here we go. Let's see what happens, and we'll be back after the aftermath of the explosion. Oh, the Knight scattered and stumbled 11 inches backwards and exploded, landing more rubble amongst the cathedral. So, at the end of turn 4 for the Skitarii, we have the Wraith Knight down to 1 wound. We have 1 dead Warwalker, so that Warwalker is dead. That one is alive.
Yep.
And we have 1 Jinking Venom with 1 wound left, and 1 exploded Venom. 1 wrecked Venom with the Cablite Warriors. So we're moving on to the 4th turn. We have the Deep Striking Trueborn arriving with the Warlord. Let's see what happens. The Wraith Knight charged in and murdered the Dominus and the last Destroyer. Didn't do anything against the Onager, but it intercepted the Raider and destroyed it, and then forced the Trueborn for disembarking. On this flank, this Warwalker charged into the Skitarii and ran them down in combat, while this lone surviving Exarch killed the last one of the infiltrators with his strength 6 shooting. We had a Venom turbo boost up to this flank over here, and the last unit of jet bikes arrived near this objective. And we had this unit of scatter bikes fire across the battlefield and destroy the last destroyer. So it's looking pretty grim for the Adeptus Mechanicus, but now the Wraith Knight has 1 wound left, and he's in front of the remainder of the Skitarii force. Let's see what happens. Turn 5. We had the Plasma Calivers trying to take down the Wraith Knight, and he passed his shield invulnerable save, but they did not blind. And then this Onager tried to fire everything at the Trueborn and needed to do a long charge and failed the charge. And with that, with turn 5 looming over, the Skitarii Maniple goes deep into the wilderness, and the game is called.
Good game, brother.
Good game, sir. So, a lot better than our closer game that we had at the Chorus Games tournament.
Yeah.
Where
My demons?
your demons died horribly. Okay.
Yeah.
Rematch time.
Yeah.
Any comments?
No, I mean, other than trying to plan for the drop and like your reserve manipulation was really helpful with not having things come on, and it basically wasted my Shroud Sum. Like my whole turn of being a 2+ cover save was wasted, which is smart on your end. Other than that, I think movement placement wise, probably put a little more shots into the Wraith Knight to get rid of it. Not worry too much about the stuff over here. But other than that, a couple bad flubby rolls. You know how it is.
That's how it works. It was definitely a lot closer than the last game. It was a very tactical game, especially the first 3 turns or so.
Yeah.
We were both trying to get a leg up on the game.
Basically cat and mouse.
Yeah, and then it just really there was a couple of key points. The Harlequins coming in, doing some damage to the destroyers, which then really helped the Wraith Knight. But I'll be talking more about that in the tactical corner that comes after the video battle report. Great looking table on a fantastic fat mat by Frontline Gaming. Make sure you check them out. Check the links down below for all the tactical videos. Support the channel on Patreon if you'd like to support the content, and stay tuned for the tactical corner. This is Skari, your grateful host, out. Hello and welcome to another Tactical Corner. First time ever playing against a War Convocation. So, it was like playing against an encyclopedia of rules. I was quite confused at first, and it took me quite a long time to read over each of the different pieces of war gear and free things that the War Convocation comes. But at its core, the War Convocation will be the same thing every single time you run into it. It's a Skitarii Battle Maniple, and it's a Cult Mechanicus War Congregation. So you're going to see an Onager, you're going to see some sort of the Doomcrawler Walker guys, you're going to see a unit of Rangers, you're going to see a unit of Skitarii Vanguard, you're going to see a unit of Infiltrators and a unit of Stalkers, as well as 2 troop units from the Cult Mechanicus army, either Destroyers and Destroyers, or Breachers and Breachers, or Destroyers and Breachers. And as well a HQ and a Knight. So knowing this, it actually becomes a lot easier to be able to deal with the Cult Mechanicus. And at 1500 points, there's not much room to really put much else in terms of, additional allies or support. So the cult requires heavily on the use of its each individual pieces and the proper tactical use of their battle hymns and the Skitarii doctrines in order to get the most out of the game. So I knew that I was in for a rough fight, and I knew just from reading online and doing research that there's 2 main canticles that I didn't want to have to face. The Shrouding Canticle that would essentially give everything a 2+ cover save in cover, or the re-rolling Misses Canticle, which would essentially make the entire army twin-linked for a turn. Therefore, I reserved everything, and I only put the 2 strong things that I knew could survive the Skitarii attack. The Warp Spiders are probably one of the best null deployment units in the game, and then the Wraith Knight that I deployed far away from the Grav Cannons to prevent them from coming down and doing damage. So therefore, it was up to the Skitarii and the Cult Mechanicus to really make the first move in the game. Now, I made a mistake and put my Warp Spiders a little too close to the Skitarii, the little Vanguard guys that they chop stuff up in close combat. And I was lucky enough to leave with the Exarch alive out of that combat.
As for the duel of the Wraith Knight and the Knight, I knew the Wraith Knight had a good chance at surviving that battle, thanks to his invulnerable save, and thanks to being in cover and going at the same time as the Knight. But it was a welcome addition, and using the Harlequins early in the game to drop in and sacrifice themselves dearly in order to eliminate the destroyer threat meant that later in the game my Wraith Knight's power became all the more apparent as the grav guns were no more. It was an objective-based mission, and I did have a lot more moving parts than my enemy. My enemy was going to have to struggle it out and then move on to the objectives later in the game. But I do feel that at any point in time, this game could have gone either way. I had a very lucky second turn when all my reserve rolls were able to be deferred. Therefore, the Shroud Psalm was negated by ignoring it completely. And I was able to come in, turn 3, guns primed and ready to rock and roll. All in all, the MVP of the match was probably the Wraith Knight, because it just absolutely murdered everything it touched. And it was really nice playing against the War Convocation. I was bound to have another game soon. Thanks a lot for tuning in to the Tactical Corner. Make sure you read up on the War Convocation on the blog and support the channel. Thank you so much to the patrons. This is Skari, your grateful host, out.